Hi everyone. Are you all exhausted? You need some time, need a break, or should we get going? Show of hands, please. We should get going? Okay, before I start, I want to make one thing very clear. I don't want this to be a monologue. Please. We all hate that. Let's make it a very, very, very interactive dialogue. All up for it? And I can promise you one thing, no gyan from me. Please. Okay, okay, and thanks, Shanthini, for a wonderful session before me. So, big round of applause for her once again. So, I'm here to talk about empowering the next generation. Who all do we have from the next generation here? Younger crowds? Please, show of hands. Somebody should raise, okay, whoever. Okay, let me change the question a bit. Let me change the question. Who all want to be one of the women in AI who are changing the face of AI in the world? Okay, there are quite a few. I think after the end of the slide and in coming years, even if one of you becomes that, it's a success for me. Okay, let's get going. So my talk is going to be about how can we become one of those women who are changing the face of AI, right? As AI leaders in this space, it's our responsibility to empower the next generation. Let's see where we go. We all have been talking about the gaps, right? There is a gap in women leadership, women in AI leadership all across the board in different organizations. Is it actually true? Why are we even spending so much time, so much resources, all the energy standing here talking about this topic? Is this even legit? Let's look at the numbers and let's see what they are talking to us. If you look at this bar graph, you will see women representation in terms of percentage of employees in different roles from entry level to C-suite. Do you see a difference there? Is the graph going down or is it maintaining at 50%? Is it going down? We all agree? When we start, the women representation is at 50%. But as women climb the ladder, in terms of role, designation, where do they end up? 20% average. If you look at it from a different perspective, again, change the perspective over here a little bit. That means 80% men dominate that space. 50% men start and 80% men end up there, which means they also get more opportunity. We all know probability, right? Somebody who has a smaller representation in the beginning and gets more opportunity, it means, yeah, number of positions are more, they get higher likelihood of reaching there. That's what this talks about. Looks gloomy to me. Does it look gloomy to you? And motivating as well? We should increase the share? Okay. Let's look at the other side of the story now. We all are talking about the AI revolution and the leadership gap. Who is she? Can somebody tell me? Anybody who knows her? Show of hands. One of you? Okay. She is Dr. Feifei Li. She is the former chief scientist of AI/ML at Google Cloud. She is also the co-director of Stanford Human-Centered AI Institute. She is one of those leaders who are changing the face of AI. None of us knows her. Another guess, another opportunity. Yes, let's redeem ourselves. Anybody who can name her? Anyone? One person? Yes? Thank you. She is Meera Murati. So 1 out of, I'm assuming this is 100 people over here, 1%. She is the ex-CTO of OpenAI and key figure between ChatGPT and DALI. I'm at least confident all of us knows about ChatGPT over here, right? She's the one who coined it. She's the one who's the face behind it. Okay, one more chance. And I know this is a difficult one, but still, anybody who can name her. I know this was a tough one, so it's okay. She's Raya Hatzel, and she's the VP Research at DeepMind. And she's an expert in reinforcement learning. What do you infer from this, from the first two slides? There is a gap, we have established that. Second, more important thing over here that we are not talking about, although there is representation, there are women who are changing the face of AI, yet 1%, or I would say 0.33% of the audience in this sample set knew about her. Right? I mean, these women should be celebrated more. They should be talked about more. They should get more popularity. They are our like role models, and yet we don't know about them. Okay, let me switch gears a little bit. I think I have given a good shock over here to people. I don't want you to stay in this kind of a state. Let's see how we can change things now. We have seen why we are here, why there is a gap, what is the problem. Let's now talk about what we can do about it. Let's be more constructive. Here we go. So, I can just talk about my experience, right? Standing over here talking about AI leaders, women in AI. Yeah, I think there are some insights that I can share from my journey as well, right? To the younger audience, I think if 15-year back me was sitting there in the audience, this is what I would tell her, that if you have to be here on the stage 15 years later, maybe this is how your journey should look like. So let's see what we can learn from here. So I started my career, my early foundations were in AI. When I did my master's from IIIT Bangalore, my major was in data science. I learned a lot about data science concepts there. Okay, a lot of ML models, Bayesian optimizations. My fanciest project in college was building an OCR. Now, if you talk about it 15 years later, OCR, like any LLM model would do it. And that time, I remember I was working with my laptop because we didn't have cloud services that time. So I could only, in my OCR, I could only detect 5 alphabets, A, B, C, D, E, because that's all my laptop could take a load. It was a Dell 4 GB laptop without any GPU. So from there to where we are right now. Anyway, so the early foundations helped me understand the core concepts of data science, which I still use. Every day we use maths in our day-to-day problem solving. Then the next stage was startups and scaling. Startups teach us a lot about problem solving because you are just thrown anything at you, right? And in such a very quick, in a very short span of time, you are supposed to solve that problem and also scale it. So during my time at different startups, I actually built some very sophisticated AI solutions. And I also learned how academics is different from real world problem solving. Next stage came when I jumped into AI leadership roles. So that's when I learned what leadership or what AI leadership means for the organization. Till now, I was working for myself. Okay, I'm getting to learn. Now it was the time when I have to give it back to the organizations and create an impact. That led me to my current role, where I'm leading the charter for Josh. Josh is a short video app, and there are like tons of complex data understanding problems, different modalities of problems, recommendation system problems, moderation problems that we solve here. But to be able to solve these problems today, this is where the journey started, 15 years back. Okay, moving on. I think in the beginning, I saw a show of hands where people really wanted to know how to become one of those leaders in AI, right? I mean, this is your mantra right here. Very crisply, or just the 3 things that you need to focus on, right? We are talking about what we need to do to become one of those top AI leaders. First thing, I mean, you don't have to do anything outside this. Trust me on it. First thing, you have to navigate biases. As a woman, there will be biases. And biases comes in all shapes and forms. You think you are a woman and you are facing a bias? Yes, well, true. You think you are from a tier 3 college and you are facing bias? Well, that is true. You come from a small town, you think you will be facing bias? Yes, true. Also, you are not very fluent in speaking English. Will you face a bias? Yes, you will. And for all these people who are facing these biases, this is what you have to do. You have to navigate those biases, but how? You need to keep on proving yourself repeatedly. You have to make sure that your voice is heard. You have to take that stage. You have to make sure that in a room full of women, men, 90% men, like in a meeting room, you have 10 people, right? So 90% means 9 are men and you are just the only woman. But you have to make sure that your voice is heard. You have to make sure that you are not underconfident and deliver what's on your mind. Trust me, you are going to be right. Never doubt yourself on that. Second thing is building credibility. Keep on iterating. Keep on working towards whatever problem you are solving. Bring on like hands-on expertise. Uh, Keep consistency. Keep on, see, especially people or the section of the society that faces bias, the sad part about them is that they cannot slack. They cannot slog even for a day. They have to keep on reiterating, reinventing, re-innovating, and keep on putting that same effort every day. And once you do that over a period of time, you have already established your credibility. Then you are sorted. Next stage comes, you have to lead through innovation. And these all points I'm talking about becoming AI leaders. This holds true even for, new generation who are starting their journey in AI, because that's how you progress. That's all you need to do. You have to keep innovating. You need to know how you are going to scale AI teams. You need to know for an organization, what are you bringing on the table? What is the impact that you are creating? You have to make sure that you are fostering a culture which can experiment. You have to give that opportunity to the younger generation or the other folks in your team. Also, most importantly, you have to stay ahead of the curve. You need to put that extra effort where you can lead by example. If you are not ahead of the curve, what are you going to teach to your team members? That's it. If you do this, you're sorted. Trust me on it. Okay. Any questions here? Does this make sense to you? All right. Now, I think we all know there is a gap. Again, I'm reiterating why there is a gap. There are still women that we don't know about. What we need to do to stay ahead in the curve, to make sure that we create a place for ourselves. But let's also talk about from organization's point of view, right? In terms of what we bring on the table, is there really a need? Like why inclusion actually matters? Is it just about some philosophy, some ethics that, okay, we should do the right thing? Or does it actually create a tactical impact? There are examples that prove that it's not just about, equality and all the philosophy behind it. It actually leads to a very tangible outcome. Just go through this first part over here, why inclusion matters. If you see, there is, we all know there have been a lot of efforts in facial recognition space, right? MIT's Media Lab's Gender Shades Report project found that there were biases in identifying women faces. Anybody who is a data scientist here or has worked on training models? Anybody? I think, Shantini, you would know why there would be biases and why there is a disparity when we create classes, right? There are underrepresented classes and that's how the models are not perfectly trained. So this clearly calls that out. Second thing, Amazon in 2018 scraped an AI hiring tool because it downgraded resumes with the word women's. Why did that happen? Why? It leaves us thinking, right? What did the model learn? The model learned to downgrade women, but why? Because the model did not see enough conversion happening from this women class. There were more conversions, more positive outcomes coming where men was written in resume instead of women. That also shows some bias to us. Third thing, there are legit problems that only women can solve or that are actually centered towards women. For example, symptoms, certain symptoms, for example, heart disease symptoms, are different for women versus men. Who will call this out in a room full of men who are building a data set or trying to build a model for detecting heart diseases? It's going to be a woman, right? Who is going to at least call this out. So, I mean, this clearly calls out that it's not just about ethics, that we need equal representation, it's also about innovation. The first AI that detected breast cancer better than doctors. Any guesses? It's written. It was developed by a female-led AI team. DeepMind 2020. We saw who was leading DeepMind, right? Just now. Okay. The world's first AI-driven maternal health chatbot improving outcomes for pregnant women. Again, built by women engineers. I mean, our male counterparts, I don't think will be able to relate to what kind of mental problems, mental trauma women go through during pregnancy, postpartum, childcare, and so on. It's only a women-centric team that can actually solve this better. I mean, I'm a big advocate of that, at least. The first point, right, I have not mentioned it over here, but actually according to a McKinsey report, the organizations that have more representation of women in top leadership are 25% better in terms of determining their profits. Okay, let's move on. This is my last slide. I have 3 minutes left. For the younger generation, that's all. Again, we have talked about what you need to do to be a leader in AI. Again, for the younger crowd, what is it that you have to act on from day one to reach there? That's it. Find your niche. You have to own it. Find your niche. Keep working towards it. I have worked, in terms of problem statements, I have worked on recommendation systems, on content understanding. I have worked on LLMs. I have worked on a lot of e-commerce based models. You have to find what suits you best and be the genius of that. Be the master of that. Be fearless in taking up leadership roles. Don't shy away. Somebody actually told me, and surprisingly, it was my husband who told me, if you don't ask for it, you are not going to get it. Many a times, as women, we shy away from asking for things, right? Be it appraisals, be it better ratings, be it better projects, be it promotions. We shy away. Why is that? Be confident in yourself, be fearless, and say, always present that you are ready. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to, right? Build and leverage your network. This is one such opportunity. You are going to meet like plenty of accomplished women in this forum. So make sure that this opportunity is better utilized. Stay curious, keep learning. Learning never stops. I think there are at least 5 or 6 cutting-edge AI models that have been released or must have been released by the time I'm even giving this talk across the world, right? So you will have to keep on learning, keep on innovating. And lastly, lead with impact, not just expertise. Always, always, always tie your work to an impact metric. Always. Whenever you start, you have to understand how are you going to measure the impact of what you are doing. I started this talk, if you remember. Now, my concluding point and my first statement are going to tie together now. When I started, I said, if even one of you, 5 years, 10 years down the lane, becomes one of the role models in the space of AI, that's the success metric for me. That's what you have to find. For every project, every work that you undertake, what is the success metric? How are you going to measure the impact of the work? And just lead by impact, not just by expertise. Thank you.